Hi, everybody. What's going on?
We've
Got
just
frankly,
I'm
about
pretty
minutes
upset,
ago,
but
shots were
I
fired at
watched
Trump
a
rally.
video
Please
of it
join me right
again,
now
and it
as we
looked
go
like it
over
hit his
this
ear or nicked his ear.
and live
And
right now.
I agree with
And
your previous guest that him
I'll put this on the
put his
screen
hand
here
up
so
in
you
the
guys.
air.
Hi, everybody. What's going on?
They
Got
got Secret Service
about minutes
forcing
ago,
him into the
shots were
yard.
fired at Trump
This
rally.
is
Please
not
join me
something
right now.
I
Wasn't ready for all this, but live
and
right now.
I-
Shots were
you know,
fired,
I-
and we're going to go live here. This on the
Put his
screen
hand
here
up
so
in
you
the
guys.
air.
Hi, everybody. What's going on?
They got
someone, and
Secret
you know what?
Service
About minutes
We
ago,
have to also
shots were
pray.
fired at Trump
We
rally.
have to pray for
Join me
our
right
country.
now. I wasn't ready for all this, but
Because how could someone have so much
right now,
hatred in
shots
their
were fired,
heart to do
and
this?
we're going to go live here. This on the screen here so you guys.
All
Hi, everybody. What's going on? They got. Hold on 1 second. We're going to get this here in a second. And we're up. All right, everybody, what's going on?
What do you think about
Hold on 1 second.
saw that what Victoria and Joe, what they were saying, that this demonization of President Trump has simply, it's gotten out of control at this point.
No, I
And we're up.
you know, I was just
Everybody, what's going
watching a
on?
video last week.
I think they're
Lawrence
views about
tearing
me.
up Trump's State of the Union address.
What Victoria
His
We'll find out
and
here
Joe,
in
they
a
were
short.
saying that this
You know, the
demonization of
Democrats have
President
done
Trump has
so
simply,
much to
it's gotten out of
demonize
control at this
this
point.
president. And
They're clearing the crowd out as you can see. They're clearing the crowd about me. But there's no sound right now. We'll find out here in a short.
Metal detector. You know, the Democrats, but I have to wonder who was shot behind the president. He shot
Clearing the crowd out right now. They're clearing the crowd about me. For what? But there's no
Oh my
sound right
goodness, Fred,
now. We'll
Flight,
find
stay
out
right
here.
there. Don't go
They're saying
anywhere.
something
Bob
somewhere
Brooksy
else.
is live for us there at the rally.
Clearing the crowd out right now. They're clearing the crowd about me. For what? There's no
Oh my
sound
goodness,
right
Fred,
now. We'll
Flight,
find
stay
out
right
here.
there. Don't go
They're saying
anywhere.
something
Bob
somewhere
Brooksy
else.
Vinny, where'd you get that shirt?
A sneaker. What do you think I got?
After Secret Service is piled on him, he's
Sorry, I'm getting some sound back here.
he put his fist in the air. He made it.
Yeah.
Vinny, so
Where'd you get that shirt?
just so in case
What do you
anyone's
think I
worried.
got?
July
The
13th, that's Saturday, July 13th, 2024, just
Sorry,
months
I'm
away
getting
from the November
sound
election,
back
2
here.
days before the RNC. Take
He's
him
he
down.
made it.
So they
Yeah.
shoot toward his head, possibly hitting him
Just so in case
in the
anyone's
ear.
worried.
Jesus. July 13th, whoever the shooter was or is, from the November election, 2 days before the RNC. Take him, he was able to lift himself up.
That is the weirdest thing. I just had sound earlier, and I don't know why.
President Trump fashion.
He's because you know what he was worried about us. He wanted us to know he
Now all of
was
a
okay.
sudden,
Whatever happens,
it doesn't want to work.
strongest man we've
We
ever
got
known.
shots
I
fired.
know he's
Trump
resilient. I
taking
know he's
off the
tough. I
stage
know
to
he's
clear
healthy.
the crowd
He
out.
will find his way through
It
whatever
sounds
battle he has
earlier,
to fight
and I
through
don't
this.
know
Let's
why.
pray to God that he's okay. And whatever happens next, remember
Now,
the importance of
now it doesn't want to work.
protect yourself, protect
We
your
got shots
family,
fired.
and remember
Trump
that you were
taking
never,
off the stage to clear the crowd
completely
out.
safe, no matter how safe
It sounds
we are.
earlier,
We're never
and I
safe from
don't know
those who
why.
are crossing our border unlawfully and from those who want to perpetrate
Why my
criminal
sound's not
activity.
working?
We always have to be vigilant. We always have to be aware. And this is a reminder of how important it is. We have not
Hit the
seen
ground
the
really
attempt
fast.
of a
I
shooting
don't know
on a
what's going
president
on here.
since I believe was it Reagan was the
I
last one,
rushed
if I'm
down
not
here,
mistaken.
go live, and why my
All
sound's
heroes
not
of this world.
working?
And you know,
Trump
people are just
hit
walking
the
around.
ground really fast.
I'm in shock
Should
right
I
I
be
don't
in
know
shock?
what's
No,
going on here.
there's a helicopter right there, probably
I rushed down
possibly
here,
taking the
go
president
live,
right there,
and
just
why my
circling.
sound's not
If we can get the camera on this.
There we go. You guys hear that? Let me know if you guys can hear that. I need to shut my computer off. We're going to go back here real quick to here we go. Trump did get shot. Trump did get shot. If you all heard that. Fucker.
agents blanketing him physically with their bodies, blanketing him over his head, over his body, with their protecting him from any further attack. You've got to give these guys protecting him from any further an enormous amount of credit for the job they do, the courage they have, and today is a demonstration of what that's like. And today,
You know, I'm looking online here, and apparently President Biden, as he was leaving Mass, in Rehoboth Beach, he was asked if he heard about the incident, and he simply said, no. There has been, thus far, no comment from the White House, from Joe Biden, from any of his spokespersons. Does that surprise you, sir? From Joe Biden, from any of his spokespersons. Does that surprise you, sir? From Joe Biden, from any of his spokespersons. Does that surprise you, sir? From Joe Biden, from any of his spokespersons. Does that surprise you, sir?
Hold on one second, everyone.
No, it doesn't surprise me for a number of reasons. But I mean, you know, at the very basic, everybody wants to make sure that, you know, they want to, before they make a statement in a circumstance like this, they want to know what's going on. The bottom line is, the first statement is he okay? Is he okay? I pray to God he's okay. That should be their statement. Everything else should come later.
You guys have voice
All
now?
right, let's bring in, don't go anywhere, Commissioner. Please stay where you are. Let's bring in Mark Morgan with us. Mark Morgan, sir, thank you so much for joining us. It's unbelievable, right? We're witnessing history happening right before our eyes. President Trump, God willing, surviving this assassination attempt. I'm looking now online at more close-up pictures of him. There is visible blood on his face. What is going through your mind, sir, as you're seeing these events unfold?
Commissioner Bernie Karras, I couldn't have said it better myself, Lydia. There's a couple of things that stick out. First of all, we know, and he knows this well from his experiences, you know, a lot of what we're getting right now is speculation. Things are going to change 1,000 different times as we get more accurate information. This is what we're in the period now we call kind of the fog of war. So there's a lot of misinformation that's going to be coming in. Another thing, too, is a lot of people, they don't necessarily know what a gunfire sounds like. They maybe think they do from movies they've seen, but depending on the size of weapon, the accessories on the weapon, the ammunition used, sometimes it's hard to tell from a lay person's perspective. But one thing the video showed us that I think is very clear is that at the moment you heard some sound going off, you saw President Trump reach up to his ear. You see it. So something hit him, something happened, and then as we see him stand up, we see the blood coming from his ear. So there's a direct cause and effect. Something happened there, some projectile hit the president around the ear area, and we see blood coming from him. And to echo what Bernie said is, look, this is a man. He doesn't have to be doing this. He didn't have to put himself in this position again, but he did it. And I know this man. And the reason why he put himself in this position again for president is because he loves this country. He loves America. And I got to tell you, when I saw him stand up, look, I've done VIP protection myself, and I know the Secret Service agents, the men and women, they're like, Mr. President, come on, we got to get you off the stage. They're trying to shield him, as Bernie was saying. And what did he want to do? He wanted to show the American people, no, I'm not down. And that fist bump, I tell you, as an American, I couldn't have been more proud right now.
You know, it's still surreal that this is happening. And what you're looking at right now, everyone, on your screen there is a replay of what happened after President Trump it appears that he was hit by a bullet. We don't know exactly where, on the right side of his face, possibly his neck, possibly his earlobe, as he was, you know, on stage there for a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. We had our reporter there, Bob Brooks, and he was forced to evacuate the area. We're also hearing some reports that people were hearing that they said shooter down. Senator Mike Johnson, by the way, Mark Morgan, tweeting a short time ago, praying for President Trump. people talking a lot about prayers at this point. What do you think about the palpable hate that the left-wing media, specifically the Biden administration, people like Joy Reid, talking about him being a Hitler, Stalin-esque figure? Have people simply gone too far?
Look, I think they have. The challenge is, I'm also a staunch supporter of the First Amendment. The challenge with the media, though, is that, look, depending on where your ideology and your political beliefs are, you're going to go to a certain place to get your information. And I do think, as Bernie said, I do think the media has some responsibility with respect to their rhetoric. They call themselves journalists, but that ship has sailed a long time ago with respect to the rhetoric. And it's not just the media. We can't blame the liberal media only on this. It's also politicians. We're hearing the same type of rhetoric come from the politicians. So as Bernie said, he called it a year ago. So I can't say that any of us are surprised that this happened. But also, look, I still want to be cautious. There's still a lot of information we do not know yet. Lydia, I haven't heard yet. Has it been confirmed that there was actually a shooter and this actually was gunfire? I haven't heard that yet. So I just want to be cautious. Everything is leaning that way, and it appears that way. But have we been able to confirm that yet?
No, you're exactly right. These are just reports coming in fast and furious. We can't. Initially, we couldn't even report that President Trump was hit with anything. We don't know what he was hit with. We don't know exactly where, but by the pictures, you can see it right there. You see that there is some sort of blood. He did reach up behind his ear, that he was hit with something. As we heard the shots ring out, we were just hearing, with Bob. Yeah.
Yeah, Lydia, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm watching the feed right now. As you were talking, they were showing what you were talking about. We heard sounds, right, that could be gunfire. And at that exact moment on the videos you were talking, Trump reaches up for his ear. So there is something happened. There was some sort of projectile. To me, it clearly shows that the president was hit. And look, I'm remiss if I don't footstep on what Bernie said. Immediately, what did you see? You saw Secret Service agents, men and women, go there and do their job. They immediately put themselves in harm's way to protect the former president of the United States. And then you see individuals right now, there's a picture showing is in tactical gear. That's going to be from the Secret Service Special Tactical Team that's there. And you're also going to have a wide array of local law enforcement that's there as well. We saw other tactical teams, other video footage of individuals in green tactical uniforms. I'm going to assume that's from a local or maybe another federal agency tactical team. Look, there is no doubt in my mind there was an enormous amount of law enforcement presence there. And what I saw after the incident happened, I saw men and women doing their job and doing their job well, Lydia.
Absolutely. Mark Morgan, don't go anywhere. Let's bring in journalist Ron Kessler. Ron, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you just tuning in, President Trump has survived an assassination attempt on his life while he was speaking at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. He did grab behind his ear, seeing some blood. We don't know his condition yet. We still don't know exactly if the shooter has been apprehended. Ron Kessler, tell us what was going through your mind as this situation unfolded. Do we have Mr. Kessler there?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
I'm here.
Okay, sir, can you hear me? It's Lydia Serrani with Newsmax. Okay, we were just talk to me about what's going through your mind right now that President Trump just survived an assassination attempt while speaking before tens of thousands of people during a rally in Pennsylvania.
Sure. Go ahead. Am I on?
Okay, let's go back to Mr. Kessler. Let's Mark Morgan. Do we still have Mark Morgan there?
Yeah, I'm here, Lydia.
Okay, while we wait for Ron Kessler to get situated, Mark Morgan, again, we're still awaiting. You're a part of law enforcement yourself. You were the head of. Talk to me about your credentials so people can understand exactly how you know all of this works, and that a giant investigation will be launched. So talk to me about that, sir.
Absolutely. Lydia, I started out my career as a police officer for Los Angeles Police Department, and then I did 20 years in the FBI. While there, I was a special weapons and tactics operator. I was a firearm and tactical instructor, and I did a lot of VIP protection as part of that role. And then my last job, I was the Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection. So just as Bernie, I'm very familiar with these situations, exactly what's going on. And look, there's no doubt that the men and women of law enforcement did a great job of screening all these individuals. But at the end of the day, no matter how good you are, you just simply cannot guarantee 100% of the time that something like this can't happen. You just can't prevent it all. You do your best. I have full faith and confidence in the United States Secret Service. Lady, I've worked with them many times in my career. I believe they are the best in the business in the world at VIP protection, at protecting the president. But again, there is no 100% guaranteed prevention that something like this can't happen. And so the best you hope for is that then once something like this does happen, that they react as they are trained to do. And right now in the video, that's what we're seeing. Again, we saw men and women without hesitation. They put themselves in the line of fire, in the line of danger, if it turns out to be, in fact, it was a gunshot. But that's not what was going through their mind. They willingly put themselves in harm's way. That's part of what they signed up to do. And their job was to get the president off that platform as fast as possible. But, you know, if there's a moment to kind of maybe smile a little bit is that President Trump made their job hard, but he wanted to make sure he sent a message to the American people that no matter what happens, he's not going to back down. And that fist bump, I tell you, if that doesn't give you some form of resiliency and some form of respect for this man, nothing will.
You know, Mark Morgan, I'm looking at pictures online and you can clearly see there is blood and it appears at the top of his right ear. I'm looking at multiple pictures right here and I can see it, it appears to be an open wound, possibly that his ear was grazed. This is incredible. This is so frightening to think that President Trump was hit. He was shot in, I mean, it was great. I don't even, I'm just in such shock right now that this is happening,
so Lydia,
that there's so much, it's so much palpable hate for him. But yes, we're seeing that he was indeed hit by something, whether the bullet actually hit him or just grazed him, but he is visibly wounded.
Yeah, and agree. I agree, Lydia. And just, you know, I'm probably being overly cautious here, but again, we don't have confirmation exactly for sure if it was a gunshot. Everything is leaning towards that way, but we just to be purely, you know, probably I'm being overly cautious. But if you see the video, and I've got friends right now in law enforcement that are sending me up close pictures that have been blown up of his ear that you're talking about. And again, what's very important, as we heard these sounds, the president reached up for his ear right away. And then later when he's doing the fist bump, we see that blood. And I've got pictures right now, again, that my colleagues are sending me up close. It's his ear. There is quite a bit of blood that is coming down from his ear. So look,
right, Mark,
we may not know what it is.
Does Mark
right
hear me?
now.
Can Mark hear me? Mark,
yeah,
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The Associated Press reporting Trump saying he is fine. They released a statement, President Trump releasing a statement that he is fine. So I want to let the world know that, because, you know, even though he was pumping up his fists, we know that conditions can change very quickly. Again, if you're just joining us, President Trump just survived an assassination attempt. 8 shots rang out, Butler, Pennsylvania, during a rally. President Trump issuing a statement. We're just reading it right now. My producer.
The only thing better than wearing a well-made gun belt is knowing you got it on sale. For a limited time only, our hand...
Mark Morgan, we're still awaiting, again, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I just wanted to get the news out there to our viewers as quickly as possible, because it was some frightening moments. I know I was watching it unfold, you know, all of our monitors, and ran down back into the studio because I couldn't believe my eyes what I was seeing. Well, as we've been talking about President Trump, he could have golfed off into the sunset, right? But instead, he decided to fight. He decided to continue despite the political persecution, despite the lies. And here he is now. Possibly, he risked his life But thankfully, he's going to be okay based on this statement that we are learning. Mark Morgan, so again, we're still waiting, possibly the shooter. So talk to me also about how expansive security detail is. I mean, this is not an easy task, keeping anyone safe, especially in a crowd of tens of thousands of people.
Yeah, look, Lydia, first of all, I'm glad you interrupted me because I couldn't agree with you more. I've been there multiple times where initially adrenaline's pumping and the individual appears that they're okay. They may even think they're okay. And then later, as that adrenaline subsides, we find out that they're actually in critical condition. So I'm very happy that you interrupted me, and I'm very happy that the president is in fact doing okay. But back to security, you know, as the former commissioner of NYPD, Bernie Karras, you had on a few minutes ago, said, I agree with him completely. Look, you cannot prevent something like this happening 100% of the time. There's absolutely no guarantees. That's what makes the job difficult of law enforcement. But I've been involved in situations like this many, many times. And I can tell you, especially with the president of the United States, the former president, the leading GOP candidate, there were no corners that were cut. I guarantee there was a massive amount of law enforcement that was present. They had a detailed plan. They did the best that they could to screen individuals that were coming in there. But Lydia, as you said, in an open air environment with tens of thousands of people that are there, if someone is committed to taking an action, a violent action against the president, that is hard to prevent 100% of the time.
Okay. Mark Morgan, thank you so much for joining us. Let's now bring in Charles Marino. Charles Marino, we're looking at his statement right now. President Trump, for everybody watching, he is okay. He released a statement. It says, quote, President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. Spokesman Stephen Chung said in a statement he is fine and the president is being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. So Charles Marino, thankfully, the president will be okay, but we're seeing a lot of these photos. He was hit by something. We saw a lot of blood there coming from his ear, it looks like. You saw him as soon as the shots rang out, and he grabbed his right ear right behind it there. His ear, what was going through your mind as you're seeing this unfold? And we've been talking about this dangerous rhetoric, right? People can say it's just talk, but calling him Mussolini and Hitler, we kind of, it's sad, but we almost predicted something like this would happen.
Yeah, all this different talk, and look, I've experienced it during my time in the Secret Service. It depends on whose ears all this rhetoric falls and the way it's interpreted. And sometimes you're not dealing with people that are going to make rational decisions, and they decide to take actions on their own. You know, picking up on what Mark said, no resources are spared here for the former president. I can tell you, one, he's freshly out of office, so his detail is rather large, and he's the presumptive Republican nominee in the week before the convention here. So he's got a lot of resources with him. You saw some of those resources rush the stage, his protection detail, the counter assault team. It's also a secure venue in that the Secret Service Uniform Division is screening everyone that's coming into that venue. So my big question right now is, if these were in fact to be confirmed gunshots, where did they come from? Did they come from within the secure environment, or this being an outside venue, did they come from outside of the venue? So expect to hear a lot more on that. You saw the detail do what the detail is intended to do, and that is to shield and protect the former president and get him out of there as quickly and safely as possible, put him in a car and take him to a safe location or a hospital, whichever one is needed first. If there are significant injuries, they'll take him to a hospital. But now we're waiting for more information on who carried out this attack. Was it one person, two person, or three? Look, we also have to remember the backdrop of our threat environment here in the country. It's off the charts right now. We've heard the FBI director, Chris Wray, talk about it. Our threat level's never been higher. We've got a lot of other contributing factors right now, like no borders being enforced here in the country. So really, we have no idea who's being let into the country, and we also don't know from within the country where threats may originate. You try and stay on top of all of this stuff, But sometimes, if we're talking about a lone shooter or a group that's going to stay quiet, sometimes they don't rear their heads in advance.
All right, Charles Marino, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm looking at this video now, more close-up video. President Trump, after he was shot, you can visibly see the ear bloodied. And the first thing he says is, fight, fight, fight. Let's bring in Newsmax host of The Briefing, Ed Henry. Ed Henry, thanks so much for joining us. I'm looking on Twitter, X, and I'm looking at Marco Rubio. He tweeted, God protected President Trump. He said, praying for President Trump. Then we have Governor Josh Shapiro. Violence targeted at any political party or political leader is absolutely unacceptable. J.D. Vance tweeting, everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone at that rally. I hope everyone is okay. It goes on and on. Mike Pence also putting out a tweet. Karen and I are praying for President Trump and urge every American to join us. Meantime, radio silence from Joe Biden from the White House. Ed Henry, what was your reaction seeing these events unfold?
Well, I can tell you I'm in Milwaukee at a hotel room getting ready for Newsmax's coverage next week. And I was just with Bianca De La Garza and John Bachman, some other hosts obviously here. And we were talking about the heavy security presence here, talking about former President Trump heading to Milwaukee in just a couple of days and all of these delegates that were flying in with us from where we flew in. And then we hear these breaking reports and we're immediately reacting first to the president's safety. It sounds like he's safe. I spoke to a law enforcement official who said the initial report is they believe that there were shots fired, but as Mark Morgan was cautioning, it could have been some kind of shrapnel or other projectile, but it appears, and the video makes that clear, that the former president was hit. He was bleeding. This law enforcement official said he was brought to some kind of local hospital or medical center, and this law enforcement official said they believe he's going to be okay. You're getting backup from that from Stephen Chung within the Trump campaign as well. And I think from the former president himself with that fist in the air immediately saying this is not going to bring me down, literally or figuratively. And you have to wonder now, you mentioned some of the statements, Marco Rubio, other allies of the president, but then others who have maybe been on the sidelines. I'm looking at Elon Musk on X, which he now owns, obviously. He's just posted, quote, I fully endorse President Trump and hope for his rapid recovery. And this comes as there are reports, by the way, that before this incident, Elon Musk was opening his rather large checkbook to start funding some of the super PAC activity and supporting former President Trump as well. But now you're going to see moral support. You're going to see people praying for him and people wondering about the rhetoric that's been thrown his way, as you mentioned, wondering about, the anger directed at former President Trump. And look, Bernie Kerik said it, the former NYPD commissioner, that for at least a year now, people close to the former president have said they're concerned that after all this liberal lawfare, that everything that's been thrown at this former president has not brought him down. It's made him stronger in the polls, financially, and all the rest of it. And there was a fear that there could be an assassination attempt. And it's rather remarkable that we're seeing that today, just 2 days before the start of the Republican convention. But the good news is he appears to be okay.
All right, and we are learning, according to the Associated Press, that the White House says President Joe Biden has received an initial briefing on the incident at the Trump rally. And also Elon Musk followed up that tweet with last time America had a candidate this tough was Theodore Roosevelt. Donald Trump Jr. also posting a tweet of a bloody Trump with his fist up in the air. He'll never stop fighting to save America. You know President Trump. This is a guy, he's a likable guy. He's a funny guy. He's a very charismatic guy. He didn't need to be president of the United States. He is doing this for an intrinsic reason. He wants to make America great again. He could have gone off into the sunset, golfing, enjoyed his beautiful Mar-a-Lago golf course, his gorgeous wife and his children and grandchildren that adore him. But he continued to fight in this race, knowing that this could be the outcome, knowing that there could be an attempt on his life. And so what do you think about President Trump's resilience?
It is rather remarkable. It's beyond remarkable. You're right. He's somebody with great wealth, great family and friends. He'd be out on the golf course, like you say, but he believes that he has to save the country. And here we are on the eve of the Republican convention, after a week in which we've heard so much about how the current president, Joe Biden, is struggling with his own party, whether or not he's even going to be the nominee. And what Donald Trump has largely done is stayed relatively quiet. This rally a few days back in South Florida, and now this one in Pennsylvania, to try and speak out and rally his supporters. But he's largely stayed out of the limelight, waiting until he makes his vice presidential pick, which we expect in the next couple of days, by the way. That's also going to be a major news event. And then he's, scheduled to officially accept the Republican nomination on Thursday night. And each night at the convention, it's going to be Make America Prosperous Again, Make America Safe Again, culminating in Make America Great Again on Thursday night. All of the themes he hits at rallies just like this one in Pennsylvania. So now everything will pause, at least briefly, to make sure his health is okay. But this movement is going to go on. He's called it the largest political movement our country's ever seen. And I think the resilience you're talking about, the video we're showing here on Newsmax, which is truly unbelievable, that in the initial seconds, he's pulling himself back up with the Secret Service, pumping his fist. And these photos and the video suggest he's got blood, not just on an ear, but on part of his face, his cheek. And you said Donald Trump Jr. is posting that. This is going to, again, assuming he's okay, we've got to make sure everything is okay health-wise. This is going to bring new power and resilience, as you mentioned, for this Republican convention of people coming together. I see the New York Times reporting that a medical helicopter arrived there on the scene about 20, 30 minutes ago and appeared to be headed towards Pittsburgh, which is the biggest, next biggest major city to this area in Western Pennsylvania, obviously, to make sure the former president's okay. So this is really an incredible development. But what is positive, at least, is that the initial report suggests he's okay.
Ed Henry, stay with us. We are going to go now to Jonathan Gillum, another law enforcement expert, as we continue to get a lot of details coming in about President Trump and the assassination attempt on his life. Again, we do have a statement in from the Trump campaign that he is fine. He thanks law enforcement for the incredible job that they did. Jonathan, what was going through your mind? Right now, we still don't know for sure if the shooter has been apprehended. As you just heard Ed Henry mention there before, that there was a life-vac helicopter. Possibly it could be for the shooter. We don't know if anyone else was hurt because, again, this situation is unfolding as we speak.
Well, first of all, we don't know the proximity that the shooter was at, because one thing people have to understand about rounds as they travel through the air, they sound different if you are where the shooter is located versus where the target of that shooting is located, if there's enough distance apart. That's why when you hear over Trump's microphone, you hear a crack, not more of a rapport sound that you would hear typically with a gunshot. It's also over a microphone, so it's going to change a little bit from what you and I would hear if we were there. So I'm not sure how far away that shooter was and what type of weapon that they were using, but I'm hearing cracks as the bullet comes across there. So the shooter could have been from a distance away. If they were close enough, and that was just his mic changing that sound, then I would be shocked that somebody was able to secrete a weapon into that location. Even if they're in a standoff distance, the Secret Service has snipers that should be around that area during these types of rallies. And I'm not going to totally criticize the Secret Service at this point, but one thing I'm definitely seeing is that the response onto that stage was slow, that the Secret Service, that the CAT team that responded up there was slow. When the Secret Service was putting him in the car, you saw a female agent that was having a terrible time holstering her weapon, whether or not she was going to holster it. And even when they were moving, it was disorganized. And this is an agency that's supposed to be on top and the best, most elite protective service that there is. And so I was not pleased with what I saw there. But from the shooting standpoint, I'm not clear how far away this individual is or was, but also about 10 seconds after the initial volley of shootings, of rounds, you hear another shot and then somebody scream. That could have been the shooter being taken out. The shooter could have been taken out earlier, but that could have very well been them taking the shooter out. So again, I'm not real clear. We don't really have a clear picture at this point in time of who and where they were shooting from, but it's good to see that the president is okay. And I'm telling you right now, that picture that you're showing right there of Donald J. Trump is going to win him this election. And that is a warrior right there that you're seeing.
He certainly is. And you saw immediately after he was shot, and I know what you're talking about, that woman, security agent getting in his face, telling him he has to leave the stage. And he just immediately said, fight. Now, prayers for the president, for President Trump. They are also coming in from his political opponents. Still nothing from Joe Biden, still nothing from the White House. But Chuck Schumer, Senator Chuck Schumer, just released a statement writing, quote, I am horrified by what happens at the Trump rally in Pennsylvania and relieved that former President Trump is safe. Political violence has no place in our country. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy also posting on X, we should all condemn what happened today, and I'm hoping for the health of the former president and everyone else at that rally. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries wrote in a post on X, quote, that his thoughts and prayers are with former President Trump and expressed thanks for the decisive law enforcement response. But still nothing, Jonathan, from Joe Biden, from anyone at the White House. He has been briefed on the situation. This campaign has gotten so ugly. They tried to bankrupt President Trump. They tried to put him behind bars, President Trump. And now they tried to kill him, President Trump.
That's bullshit.
Right? And you have to realize that this is all tactics, political tactics, that these sound bites. Chuck Schumer, I don't believe a word he's saying. I don't think he feels bad about this at all. The same with these other Democrats that are going to put out these statements. The reality is, tactically, they don't want to see Trump in this. They have driven this. The left has driven this to a point that it has gotten this extreme just in a political race. And the country is so divided. They can say whatever they want about Trump. I mean, look, this right here should show the American people that it's time to stop bowing to these politicians that are not leaders. They do not have the best interests of this nation. They don't find solutions, and they drive the people to hate each other this bad to the point where this would be the case. And I frankly am sick and tired of it. And I would not be surprised if this right here drives the American people to either come together, or this kicks off something that we've never seen in this country since our own Civil War.
Jonathan Gillum, former FBI agent, law enforcement expert. Thank you so much, sir. I just want you to stay put for a moment. I want to bring in Newsmax host of Rob Schmitt tonight. Rob Schmitt, he's at getting ready for the RNC convention, which Newsmax will be broadcasting from. Rob, what is going through your mind right now? President Trump, immediately after it appears that he was shot, we see a lot of blood coming from his right ear. He immediately says, fight, fight, fight. Puts his fist up in the air, now releasing a statement saying that he's going to be fine, but still not a single word from Joe Biden. What do you make of the regime, the Biden regime? Has this it's spiraled out of control? President Trump was almost killed tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the point is anybody surprised? Has anybody not thought about this potentially happening? The rhetoric that's been around this man for the last 7 years. I mean, who's, you know, when you vilify a person to this point, which is what they've done, who simply has policies that are designed to make this country run in the way that the people that live here want to. You know, these are populist policies meant to bring power back to the people and away from the establishment government. And that threat is so dire to that establishment that they have vilified this man to the point of this. I mean, he's shot at a rally. I don't know how a gun got in there, but when you tell the people of this country, or at least half the people of this country effectively, that this man is Hitler, which is what they've been doing for the last several years, is anybody surprised that somebody is going to try and take him out? It's not surprising at all. It's terrifying, and it's disgusting.
Still trying to look for that too.
I've never
about
seen anything
the
like this. I mean, I was not alive when Reagan was shot in 81, I think. You know, I was born in 83. But I just, to see a moment like that, to see him standing there on the stage and to get, it appears winged by a bullet in the ear, and then to see his defiance, to say, wait a second, and to put his fist up, to let his people know he's okay and to keep fighting. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I mean, as far as, you know, politically, I mean, this is, you know, the support was already so massive around him because this country is being dragged to hell and back by this administration and by what the far left has done by capturing the White House with Joe Biden and what they've implemented the last 3.5 years has been a disaster. This is rocket fuel. This is rocket fuel, as simple as that. I can't believe that we've gotten to the point where we've made, I mean, we saw what happened with the congressional baseball game when Steve Scalise was almost killed. This is what they will resort to keep their power. They will stop at nothing. You know, I mean, you watch, I have a political show every night. I talk trash. I call Biden, you know, he's a clown, he's a fool, all these things like that. On the other side, they're telling people that Trump is Satan, that he's Hitler, that the country is over if he gets into power. It's a difference. There is a difference there. And the difference is seen here tonight. You see exactly what people are capable of. You got a lot of lunatics in this country, and they're capable of terrible things. And you have a media and you have an establishment left in this country that is out there pushing rhetoric that will lead to this every single time. And it's so, I couldn't believe it. You know, I'm not shaved, you know, here I am, it's the weekend. I have friends here with me and this happened and we just immediately flipped the car back to come back here and I'm in the house. It's got an echo. The studio's not done yet, but it was just unbelievable to think that it's, you know, it's a random Saturday and something like this happens. And you have the president up there giving this massive rally. He's just north of Pittsburgh. He's got thousands, if not tens of thousands of people watching him speak. I mean, this is the clear front runner. He's going to take Pennsylvania from Joe Biden. The establishment in this country is enraged. They're furious because of this. And they have spun this story that this man who simply just wants to tax the people less, make the government smaller, have a border, and have sensible policies in this country that aren't run by the lobbyists, by the special interests, and by the establishment. That is so enraging and threatening to them that they have turned it into this. And this is the point that we've gotten to. And I can't believe that that bullet winged his ear. I mean, he was an inch or two away from death. I don't know what kind of gun this was. I don't know how they got it into this place. It's that close, and it's just terrifying. Go ahead.
It is terrifying. Keep it right there, Rob. Don't go anywhere. We have America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, close friend also of President Trump. He's joining us right now. Mayor Giuliani, sir, thank you so much for joining us. President Trump almost assassinated, bloodied ear. We now know he's going to be okay. What's going through your mind? They have come after you too, sir. I've actually told you to be careful. You know, they want to eliminate you. They want to eliminate the president.
Lydia, I was there in the White House when Ronald Reagan was shot, and I was in charge of getting Hinckley turned over to the federal authorities and his case. So I'm very much aware of what's going on right now, and it does look like the president came through it in his usual brave, defiant, loyal, and dedicated self. That fist pump is all you need to know about Donald Trump. This man is a born leader, and it's moments like this that you get to see that. And this is something I've been afraid of, and I think we even talked about this, Lydia, for a year or two. I know Bernie Carrick and I had a conversation with him about it over a year ago, saying, you know, they've tried every other way to get rid of you. We've got some pretty evil people out there, so be careful. Just, you know, don't push it. But you know, this is a very, very determined man. He knows how important this is, and I just texted him and the family and told them that we need him more than he needs us.
Or did you ultimately just rush out?
No, we were there for a minute because they did tell us to go back down again just in case.
Mayor, I
I
don't mean to interrupt you,
down.
Mayor, but I'm
but
seeing
I
this
think
on
one of
Twitter,
the stands that I
according
was
to
next
the
to,
TV
they did
Pittsburgh
carry
station
out a man, and there was another one that might have been
They are
injured. I'm not
reporting,
100%
the
sure,
county
but definitely
prosecutor
one
there
at
is
least.
reporting that one person
And
was
on the
killed.
other stand on
And the
the
former
other side,
president
'cause I
is
was on the
safe.
right, on
This
the
is not
left,
confirmed.
there were like a bunch
This is
of,
according to the TV
like,
station
men in
there
uniform,
in the
like,
area. Again,
surrounding
President
someone.
Trump is
So that was
okay,
interesting to
but we
see.
are seeing multiple
You said that you were very
online that a
impressed by
person
the
was
speed
killed.
in
We don't
which
know
Secret
who that
Service was
person
able to
was
get
because
on that
again,
stage within
these
seconds
gunshots
of all of us
were
hearing those
fired from
popping
a
sounds.
long
Yeah,
distance.
absolutely.
So
They did a
God
great
forbid
job.
someone else
I
was,
definitely felt
you know,
protected
hit
in the
in the
situation.
crossfire. We know
The
that the
sniper
president was hit
on it,
on the right
watching
side
on
of
guard.
his head,
Everyone on the
literally
scene like did a great
centimeters,
job.
millimeters
I
from
mean,
being
like of course
shot
it was like
in the
nerve-wracking
head
in the
and
moment,
being
but
killed
I
right
never
there
felt
on
like
the
I was
spot.
like in danger.
So,
which is cool. They were on
Mayor,
the president, which I'm very thankful of.
they're
And
trying
they
to
did a great
bankrupt
job, like
you.
protecting
They've
him and getting him
weaponized
out
the
as quick
legal
as
system
possible.
against you as well as against President Trump. And now they've tried to kill President Trump. I was just talking about this with Rob Schmidt. You know, here on Newsmax, maybe the worst we'll say is, oh, Sleepy Joe, right? Or we'll say something like Cackling Kamala. But when you watch MSNBC, you listen to Joy Reid, they're calling President Trump Hitler. They're calling him Mussolini. They're saying he's a threat to democracy. Yeah. Joe Biden calls him a threat to democracy. This kind of rhetoric is so dangerous, all because they're simply obsessed with staying in power. They don't care that some wacko out there is being brainwashed and actually believes that the nonsense they're spewing. So as long as they stay in power. So what do you think? Should there be some sort of accountability? Will people learn their lesson that words matter?
Well, you know, almost independent of this, demonizing President Trump is evil. It's an evil thing to do. It's an evil thing to do to him. It's an evil thing to do to our country. This man is a great leader and a human being and an exceptional leader. I was with him when he had a scare in Nevada and he had to be taken off the stage in the 2016 campaign. And I texted to him immediately after that because I rode away with him. He stayed there. He wouldn't leave until everybody was safe. And I said, you just proved tonight that you can be our president. And that was almost 8 years ago. Well, he just proved tonight that this is the kind of leader we want. This is a brave man, a strong man, a man who has principles and is willing to die for them. He has known for some time that he's in great peril. I remember going to him specifically on a specific occasion with Commissioner Carrick and telling him to please be very careful. You know, they've done everything they possibly can do to him. This is like the 7th or 8th attempt to frame him for things he didn't do. These people are evil people, and I'm not going to be specific, but the people who tried to take him out on Russian collusion or covering up the hard drive, or these are horrible things to do. I don't think anybody in our history ever did things like this. And our feckless press lets them get away with it. These are not nice people. This idea that Joe Biden is a nice man, what a joke. I mean, the reality is they are blind with ambition and driven by hatred.
And again, so Mayor Giuliani, I'm looking right now at the Pittsburgh TV station's Twitter feed. And again, it's saying confirmed. Butler County District Attorney says that one person is believed to be dead. Again, President Trump is okay. No information about the shooter right now. Mayor Giuliani, thank you so much for calling in with us. Let's bring in Newsmax host.
God bless him.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, let's bring in Newsmax host Greta Van Susteren. Greta, thank you so much for joining us. I can only imagine what is going on through your mind right now as you saw these events unfold, President Trump almost assassinated.
Yeah, you know what a contrast it is, because I'm already in Milwaukee with so many of other Newsmax hosts ready to get ready for the convention. And I was just at a street fair and everything seems perfectly normal. And all of a sudden you see the phones start to turn on as people start to talk and look that there's a possible assassination attempt of the president of the United States, who we expect to be here any day now. So naturally, I mean, it's very disruptive. It's turned everything upside down. Of course it has. And, but this was look, who hasn't expected something like this? You know, we live in a very ugly world where the politicians have been very ugly with each other in terms of things that are said. You know, things are said about President Trump that he's going to end democracy, and that, you know, and so it's almost as though if by any chance you should support Trump, that you must be in favor of ending democracy, and you light people on fire. And we don't know we don't know anything about the shooter today. But I'm sure that it's going to be a pretty predictable description of him when we finally do hear. It's not going to be some guy who suddenly woke up this morning and decided he was going to do this. This is probably, you know, these are an awful lot of people out there who are very vicious, who are on a mission, and it's no longer, you know, so much a thought of working at the voting box, but trying to get even and calling people evil, rotten, horrible things, and they're going to destroy the world. So naturally, this isn't a big surprise, but kudos to our Secret Service and President Trump. Looks like a pretty tough guy getting up and shaking his fist in the air, but it could have been, you know, an inch in one other direction. It could have been a very different story, or even a different politician. You know, next time it could be President Biden.
Right. And I'm just looking right now, Pennsylvania Republican Senate candidate David McCormick, he was sitting there in the front row. He told Politico that it appeared that someone behind him was shot. Quote, McCormick said, all of a sudden shots started to crack. Someone behind me appears to have been shot. All of a sudden, shots started to crack. Someone behind me appears to have been shot. There's lots of blood. And then the Secret Service were all over President Trump. We're also seeing from TV stations, Greta, the local TV station there, that there was a person was possibly shot and killed. So we don't know if that was the shooter. We don't know if someone was hit in the crossfire.
Yeah, it said, I've read the report says that shooter is dead, but that doesn't mean that there weren't other people involved. That's the problem. I mean, this is such an unfolding story. We have no idea. I mean, let's hope that is a shooter, that shooter is dead. And let's hope that this is not going to be some sort of copycat craze. And we're going to have to go through this, you know, more as the days and weeks go on. It's going to be a really rough and tough election between now and November. And look, this is a president who likes to go out and meet the people. He doesn't like to sit behind a camera in an office and talk to people on Zoom. He likes to go out and shake hands and talks to people. That's his MO. And so this is, you know, very disheartening for some. I assume he's going to survive. So he looks fine. He got up. He shook his head and his hand in the air. But look, you know, he likes to go out and talk to people.
Greta, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we are learning from the Butler County, this just in, the Butler County District Attorney telling the Associated Press that the shooter is dead. The shooter confirmed dead that tried to conduct the assassination attempt on President Trump, as well as a rally attendee has been killed. So again, the shooter dead and rally attendee killed at Trump event in Pennsylvania. Butler County District Attorney telling the Associated Press. And again, President Trump is expected to be okay, but he was hit. We don't know exactly if it grazed his head. Greta, what's going through your mind right now with this latest news coming in?
A terrible tragedy. The rally attender. I mean, what was he? You know, what was he doing? Was he trying to save the president? Was he trying to help, or was he just in the way of a bullet? Look, this is, you know, there's so much we don't know right now. But the good news is the shooter is dead, and the other good news is the president is going to survive. And we're going to sort through this. We're going to stiffen all our security around our presence, which is terrible. I mean, one of the best things about the way we campaign this country is that presidents go out and meet with people. But now what's the Secret Service going to do? They're going to try to, you know, put the brakes on him. I don't think he's going to like that very well. I think Trump's probably going to get right back up on the horse and campaign some more. But this is just going to mean we have to be more careful who gets into these perimeters. Look, I'm in Milwaukee, and I bet tomorrow the perimeter to get into the arena toughens after the incident today, because you just can't let your guard down. And of course, this is just ample proof of why you can't let your guard down. Not that they were letting their guard down here, but it's going to be a lot tougher, I bet, here in Milwaukee and even out in Chicago.
All right, Greta Van Susteren, don't go anywhere. We're going to bring in Chris Salcedo. He's a host of the Chris Salcedo Show right here on Newsmax on 4 p.m. Eastern. Chris Salcedo, again, we're just learning the shooter is dead. A rally attendee also killed at this Trump rally. President Trump will be okay, surviving this assassination attempt. We've been talking about this. They tried to bankrupt President Trump. They tried to put him behind bars for life, President Trump. They've smeared his name. They call him Hitler. They call him Mussolini. They even called him a rapist. And now they tried to kill him. Sadly, we knew it could come to this point. And here we are at this moment in time in history where they tried to kill him now, to kill the main political opponent running against Joe Biden, the incumbent for the White House. What is going through your mind, Chris?
Tragic for our country. I was speaking with some elected officials before I came on with you, Lydia, and the worry is what this is going to do to our country, the permanent schism that, of course, the detractors of the America First agenda seem to be hell-bent on making sure is part of this national fabric, the national unity completely destroyed with actions like this. My first thoughts are of somebody going to a Trump rally to support their chosen candidate ends up dead at the hands of somebody who we are all trying to get an identification on as soon as humanly possible. But how tragic this is. I'm looking at some reaction coming in from my home state of Texas. Governor Greg Abbott, they try to jail him. They try to kill him. It will not work. He is indomitable. And I think it's that type of spirit that we saw in so many of these still photos now that are all part of social media, Lydia, where you had President Trump defiantly putting his hand in the air, trying to tell the Secret Service agents, no, let me tell the folks how we all have to be, how we have to stand in the face of this oppressive type agenda that seems to be being foisted upon us by those who are detractors of the America First agenda. It's just so tragic to see what's happening to our country. A lot of people felt pretty badly about the ascendancy of President Trump as Joe Biden has been flailing as of late. And I don't know. I know a lot of political punditry, Lydia, has been saying that the big worry is, as the American people have seen through the Democrats' lawfare, as they've seen through all of these numerous attacks on President Trump, how it's not affected his poll numbers or his popularity. In fact, having just the opposite impact. And our worry was that this eventuality might come around. And here it is. The Babylon Bee is lampooning Democrats right now, saying that the same party that has been calling Trump Hitler for the last 8 years is astonished that somebody would try to assassinate him. And it's a bit of a stinging satire for a moment like this. And I think Democrats have got to be very careful. Here we are, Lydia, coming up on an hour. Where's Joe Biden? Where's the statement from the White House? Where are prominent Democrats saying this is not what needs to happen in this country and condemning this type of violence in our politics? It is a very perilous situation for the Democrat Party and its legitimacy at this point, the longer they wait.
To leave immediately.
It is incredible that we have yet to hear from Joe Biden, from Kamala Harris, and they have been briefed on the situation and still nothing from them. Chuck Schumer saying it's a horrifying situation. Hakeem Jeffries also coming out and condemning the violence, among many, many others. Speaker Mike Johnson tweeting, praying for President Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about pray for everyone involved. But again, if you're just tuning in, President Trump will be okay. The shooter has been killed, and a rally attendee is also dead this evening. Donald Trump Jr. also putting out a tweet of his father bloodied with his fist up in the air. He'll never stop fighting to save America. Governor Doug Burgum tweeting out, we all know President Trump is stronger than his enemies. Today, he showed it. Mike Pence also tweeting, Karen and I praying for President Trump and urge every American to join us. Chris Salcedo, don't go anywhere. I'm hearing now that Greg Kelly, host of Greg Kelly Reports, is also joining us right now. Greg Kelly, tell us what is going through your mind right now. The rhetoric. You know what's sad. I hate to say this. We knew it was going to come to this.
Lydia, the rhetoric is an issue, but right now I'm just trying to come to terms with the facts and my relief that President Trump seems to be safe. The former president is safe, the official word from the Secret Service. And do me a favor, the control room, we've got a serious echo here, if you don't mind. I have been worried. Everybody's been worried about his safety.
this is a very tense political season, but what a hero. What a hero. He spilled blood today for America. Some people are saying he turned his head at exactly the right moment. And if he hadn't turned his head, perhaps a bullet could have destroyed him. Instead, he will live to continue to fight. And after the Secret Service, he went down, the Secret Service swarms him. I believe in that interlude, that's when the shooter, whoever that shooter is, we do not know, was taken down. We don't have, I've heard conflicting reports about the shooter's status, dead, alive, we do not know. But he got to his feet and he actually told the Secret Service two things. Get my shoes. I believe that those were his words. And then wait. And he kind of broke through the two shoulders of the Secret Service agents to pump his fist defiantly and in victory at the same time. And I believe what he was saying was fight, 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 as blood was on his face. And that was the scare of a lifetime for millions and millions and millions of us, those who support him, and I believe probably many who do not support him. Hopefully at this moment, we can all come together and condemn this kind of violence. It is perhaps a miracle that he survived. I'm going to say it looks like a miracle. In that moment, we will never forget it. We will never forget it. And I think it's at this moment, perhaps an hour ago, I did not note the exact time. Actually, time is going fast. It was 6:14 when gunshots seemed to ring out. It seemed to me to be from quite a distance, perhaps from a rifle. I do not know. We're also hearing, again, conflicting reports about a rally attendee being seriously wounded, if not shot and killed. That is unconfirmed. The best news we have right now is from the Secret Service. The former president is safe. The former president is safe. I was surprised, quite frankly, the lack of speed in getting him out of there. They walked rather slowly. That's what it is. Perhaps they had a reason to do that. And it certainly gave President Trump the opportunity to signal to all of us that he is alive, he will live, and he will continue fighting. However, I must say, we were still concerned that perhaps he was wounded. You know, Ronald Reagan walked after the assassination attempt in 1981, they thought he was fine initially. He actually walked into the hospital, George Washington University. That is somewhat vague.
They better stop doing it. They keep losing their sound. Come on now, get your sound back, Newsmax. Oh, they're making enough noise here. Okay, guys, come on.
All right, folks. Guys, in the control room, I'm not exactly sure what just happened. I lost some audio here for a moment. Not exactly sure what's happening in the studio. I think I've got the ball now, so let me just recap in case you're tuning in here on Newsmax and Newsmax 2. We have an incident that happened at a rally today, a rally for President Trump, where the former president was grazed by a bullet, an assassin's bullet. He is okay. Sad to report that an individual who was attending this rally has lost their life. The shooter, we are being told, is also dead at this hour. So this is an incredibly sad situation that's unfolding in our country. Some Democrats have started to weigh in, politicos from all over the United States, mostly Republicans taking to social media, mostly Republicans taking and issuing statements, those a part of the conservative movement, those who said that because of the rhetoric in this country, because of what we've had to endure these last 3 or 4 years, actually even before that, that this eventuality might happen. Individuals have been predicting that as the lawfare against President Trump didn't work, as their attempts those who oppose the America First agenda tried to throw President Trump off social media, silence his voice, indict him, hit him with a slew of legal challenges and legal accusations that really don't pass muster. Oh, by the way, guys, also getting a little bit of an echo in my ear here all of a sudden, so I'm going to bring down the TV station so I can at least continue to talk to you folks out there. So where was I? Oh, yes. The lawfare against President Trump didn't work. His poll numbers skyrocketed. And then, as we all saw, Joe Biden, the con that the left wing has been running on this country was exposed on debate night. On your screen, you are seeing images. President Trump stopping his Secret Service detail from taking him off the stage, whisking him off the stage, which, of course, is their instinct to do. Stopping them, saying, let me tell the folks I'm okay. And he did, raising his hand defiantly at those individuals, or this individual, I should say, who tried to remove him from the political discourse on the political stage here in this country. So in case you're just tuning in again, an assassination attempt, it's what's being classified here against President Trump, a bullet grazing, it appears, his ear. The president is good, as you can see, he is good to go and walked off under his own power, but as you can see, his ear getting grazed by a bullet as he was whisked away by Secret Service. I can only imagine what's happening in the minds of the family members of the individual who was killed, who did take this would-be assassin's bullet, and what that family must be going through tonight and asking themselves some very pointed questions. What kind of country do we live in run by an establishment that would create an atmosphere like this? And those individuals who are in that family probably wondering, what does it all mean? Let me bring in Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly reports, good friend, and I was listening to some of your observations, Greg. We're trying to feverishly discover the identity of the shooter. My hope and prayer is that the authorities will not keep his identity from us, as other high-profile shooters' identities and manifestos have been kept from us by certain authorities in this country. Your thoughts?
Well, in a way, our hopes and prayers have already been answered in that President Trump is safe. President Trump will live to fight. In fact, he was fighting moments after this shooting. My emotions are...
Oh, damn it.
Type position. Perhaps this is the gunman. I don't know. That certainly hasn't been confirmed. But I do see a person in camouflage on top of a warehouse. The people are speculating that he had just been killed, that he had just been taken down, or at least put down by the Secret Service. I believe Ray Kelly is with us. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Ray Kelly, the former police commissioner of New York City. This is Greg Kelly right here at Newsmax. And Commissioner Kelly happens to be my father, but you were also in charge of the Secret Service for a good chunk of time in the mid-1990s when you were Under Secretary of the Treasury. Service reported to you. You've seen the video. You're getting bits and pieces of information. What can you tell us, sir?
Well, I really can't tell you too much other than what has been reported, but it is ironic that you and I were talking about the possibility of assassination attempt against President Trump. We were talking in the last 24 hours because of the level of vitriol, the speech that's been all over in terms of President Trump being the subject of such hateful rhetoric. It's incredible. We talked about last night, seeing people like Michael Moore talking about President Trump must be stopped, and you cannot get anywhere near 1800 Pennsylvania Avenue. That is the level of speech that we have been subjected to just in the last 24, 28 hours. So we don't know. I don't know much about who has done this shooting, but this former president has been impeached twice, has been the subject of charges that are certainly questionable, and it's come to this. We have to, as a nation, as a country, lower the level of hate and hate speech that we have heard in this presidential campaign. It is.
I totally agree.
It's just
totally agree, Commissioner Kelly. We have a bit of information. We're getting this from Pennsylvania police sources. They believe that President Trump was not struck by a bullet, but that a bullet may have hit the glass teleprompter shield, and that glass shattered, and that is actually what impacted President Trump's face and ear. But these were real bullets, and they hit at least 2 people on the stage and possibly more. By the way, I know I had a similar injury in Iraq. It was a shrapnel injury. It's no joke, and I'm sure no one to minimize the teleprompter glass. This was an assassination attempt. It is so clear. You have any observations about the Secret Service response? You know, of course, we were. What you saw, did it appear like standard? And let me ask you this also. You know, President Trump on January 6th, he spoke to a large crowd behind a bulletproof glass, which kind of makes a lot of sense to me. We don't see a bulletproof glass there. We don't see bulletproof glass actually at any of his rallies. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, it should be. Obviously, from now on, I'm sure we'll be seeing that, assuming he continues to do these rallies. But yeah, I mean, this has raised the stakes tremendously, and it's also interesting to note that Robert Kennedy, whose father and uncle were assassinated, has not been given civil Secret Service protection by this administration. That has to be changed immediately. You know, the game has changed.
We have a report from the New York Post that 2 snipers were involved in the assassination attempt on former President Trump. Law enforcement insiders said the assailants were both snipers and were neutralized by the Secret Service counter-assault team. I'm told we may have Bob Brooks on the ground at the rally. Bob, can you hear me?
Yeah, Greg, you got me. We're having kind of tough signal right now ever since this happened. As you would imagine, they're trying to scramble things. Do you got me?
We hear you loud and clear, Bob, loud and clear. Please tell us what you saw. Tell us everything you can.
So, hot day, obviously. Trump came out, started to cool down, started giving his speech. And it was your typical Trump speech. The crowd was fired up. I sat down in my seat watching the president, and then you heard the first shot. Greg, it sounded like, honestly, it didn't sound like some kind of high-powered rifle, like kaboom. It was like a pop. It sounded like a firecracker, the first one. And then there was more, and then there was more. And then that's when it dawned on everybody there was an assassination attempt going on, or there's some type of shooting to some degree, mass shooting on the crowd. And I was on the risers directly in front of the president, and I ducked down, everybody dove down, and then the firing stopped. And I looked up, and I didn't see President Trump. I just saw the scrum around him on stage, and I just started shouting out. I said, where is he? Where is he? Is he down? They're like, yeah, he's behind the podium. He's behind the podium. He's down. I'm thinking the worst. I'm saying we know he's okay now. Thank God he's okay. And then off to the left. So, Greg, President Trump is speaking directly to the crowd. To the right, the shot came, at least one of them, as you're saying now there's 2 snipers involved in this. At least one of them was off in the risers. There's the risers behind him, to the right, his right-hand side. That's where the state police, I looked over there, I saw state police converged on somebody over there, a scrum going on just as well. By that time, the shooting had stopped, but the crowd was in dismay. I mean, we just saw an assassination attempt against the president. It was kind of weird. Like some water system shot out from the 2 monitors that were by him. One of them, I don't know if a bullet hit it or something and hit a line or whatnot, but everything stopped, and then water shot out, sprayed out from the side, and then the rest is kind of a blur, Greg. We just had the assassination attempt on Trump, but I will say this. When he got up and he fist pumped the crowd, we all fist pumped him back, including myself. We all screamed, USA, USA, we love you. Everybody was... it was happening in real time, so we didn't really know what to do. But we all fist pumped him, and they whisked him out and then put him in the SUV, and then he was gone. The scrum continued off to the side, though, within seconds, Greg. Police tape had been put up around that area. Secret Service in that area came through. They began kicking over chairs, obviously looking for weapons or whatnot. And it was all focused to that side. I did see what I thought to be blood on the bleachers to where the shots looked like they came from and to where that scrum was going on. And then the crowds, they got on the intercom and they said, you got to go. Everybody's got to clear out. And everybody started clearing out. And we tried to get on air as soon as we could. And we did. And that's the latest now. Everyone's been leaving, Greg. And you can see behind me, this was the row of all the Trump memorabilia. What a day. What a fun day we were having here in Western Pennsylvania, Greg. As you know, I'm from here. I grew up about an hour and 20 minutes away. And this was a great day for Western PA. The crowd was huge. I haven't seen a crowd covered a lot of Trump rallies. I haven't seen one like this. It was enormous. And to have it end like this, obviously it's awful. It's awful they tried to kill President Trump. It's just awful for the country, period. What happens next? Where do we go next? Where are things going to go? No one knows. It's a new country now. So, but that's the way it unfolded, Greg.
Bob, thank you so much. We're glad you were there. Glad you're safe and the president is safe. I have a statement from the campaign. This just came in. President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. That's from Stephen Cheung, Trump spokesperson. And Bob, if you're still with me, can you just tell me how far from the podium were you? You said you were right in front of it. How many feet would you estimate were you from the president?
Well, we were on the risers, the press risers. So we were about maybe 75 yards away, right in front. I was looking right at him, and you hear this shot, and you kind of see, I don't know what I saw, like maybe a bullet whizzing by, and it just everybody froze, and then pop, 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 pop. You heard the other ones, and then we ducked down. We were under attack, so we ducked down and tried to get safety. Once it stopped, but again, I'll never forget that moment my entire life. It's one for the history books when President Trump stood up and fist pumped the crowd. I've never, obviously this doesn't happen every day. I've never experienced anything like that. We all screamed. We were all cheering for him. Every single one of us, fist pumping him back.
Yep. The image, Bob, it kind of looks like the Marines on Iwo Jima with that flag. I think it is going to go down in history. What an iconic moment, and maybe it's too early for that. We're again just, we're so relieved that the president is okay. He's fine, and he will be out there again. You know what? I'm a little bit surprised and gratified, relieved that there wasn't some sort of stampede or a panic. The kind of was remarkably under control. When a sniper starts firing, you could imagine that hundreds of people might start running in all directions.
Your thoughts exactly were mine. I thought that was what was about to happen. I thought pandemonium, complete pandemonium was about to break loose, but it was so quick. And the state police, Secret Service was on the guy or people so fast. And I don't know if Secret Service snipers, Greg, you say they countered it and they got to him so quick. But the people here, nobody. I mean, we panicked, but nobody went completely insane afterwards. It was over so quick. It was surreal, Greg. We just saw an assassination attempt on President Trump. It was, and then after it happened, we were all just like in a daze. And then Secret Service is walking in. They're saying, "Okay, you got to pack your bags. You got to go." And you just are taking orders. You're following along. People were crying. Greg, I interviewed some women coming out crying, teary-eyed, rightfully so. I can't blame them. They just can't believe it's got to this point. Though I've been listening to the broadcast, Lydia has made a lot of great points too. We all thought this was a possibility. I've heard many people say that this potentially could have happened to President Trump. And you hear that rhetoric and they're like, oh, well, it's so extreme. It's so extreme. Clearly it's not. Clearly that's where it is, Greg. That's what happened today. President Trump was nearly killed. Thank God he wasn't. But it just, and then since then, everyone's been in a daze. People have been slowly walking out. We've been doing interviews and sad. Everyone's sad. People, like I said, people are crying.
We understand. We understand. What a wild moment. And people are we have heard, it's kind of confirmed, we believe, that the shooter has been killed. Conflicting reports as to how many shooters, one or two. About 2 minutes ago, the Post was reporting that there were two assassins, attempted assassins, or two shooters involved in this. We are hearing that the shooter was killed by a Secret Service assault team. One other person believed to be a civilian also killed. Once again, the president is safe, but we have no details yet about his condition or exactly what kind of wounds he sustained. He is grateful for the Secret Service and their fast reaction. We saw it, and we might as well re-rack the video and maybe take it from the top. It's remarkable how much you can see, and now some photographs are emerging from behind the podium. We'll work to get those on air as well. There is a whole other sequence of images behind the scene. And Bob, don't go far. We could sure use you.
Yeah, Greg, I'm here.
Absolutely. I would imagine. You bet. Look, this is an active crime scene. I'm hearing there are law enforcement still all over the place, interviewing people. What's happening in that regard? You told us in great detail, and we appreciate it, what happened. What's happening right now?
To your point, Greg, crime scene investigation. So after everyone had collected themselves and the apparent threat was neutralized, the Secret Service, they come in, okay, and on the riser where the shots came from, and they tackled the person and killed them, I guess. They roped
Bob,
that
do me a favor.
area
I just
off.
have to let me jump in for a moment. It looks like, I'm told that this footage here is the shooter being taken away. And actually, it looks like someone's performing CPR on an individual, whether that's the shooter, whether that couldn't be the shooter, to be honest. That couldn't be, based on the location. That's right behind where President Trump was speaking. You could see that somebody, and we heard somebody else was shot, and that would have been pretty much in the line of fire. Gosh, we are looking at people scrambling, I think, to save a life. This individual, I don't believe is the shooter. I believe this is a victim, yet we can't say for sure, really, much of anything at this point. We're just taking this in. We're waiting for confirmation, but I believe that was another victim. And people, they're blood-stained, regular people with their shirts stained with blood in the aftermath of this horrible, horrible event. Wow. Bob, sorry about that, but this is a pretty key piece of video.
Okay.
Tell us more, if you don't mind. What's happening right now?
So the crime scene investigation, immediately after, and everybody had Trump had left and the apparent the threat was neutralized, they roped off that area in crime scene tape where the shots came from, and then everybody had to leave. We're on the risers, Greg, and we had to leave most of our equipment. We took just enough so we could get our live shots out, but they were like, you got to go. Everyone's got to go right now. This is a crime scene. Secret Service agents, they came through. Everybody had to go. Everybody had to leave the fairgrounds. And as we're walking out, agents all over the place. And I saw a medevac going off. I don't know if that was for former President Trump. I have no idea, but that just added to the chaos of the situation at the time because nobody had really known. We got a little reassurance when President Trump got up and gave the fist bump, but nobody really knew in such a fluid situation and chaotic situation what was going on. So the whole farm show grounds, Greg, is a crime scene now. We are about half a mile away. This obviously was where the Trump memorabilia was for sale and people were having a great time, but that has all come to an end. And like I said, I just talked to people. So I talked to a gentleman who was in the second row. I showed me his wristband. He said, yeah, I was sitting right there. I saw him get shot. At the time, we didn't know.
Wild.
It's unsure yet. Yeah, did it hit that glass and spray? Like I said, and that guy's story corroborates mine. There was some kind of like burst around his head. And then we just, what was that? And then bang, 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 more happened. And that's when we knew that there was an assassination attempt going on.
And right now, we're seeing that, again, a man performed CPR on, we believe, was a rally, just a person attending the rally, maybe in VIP seating. Katrina Zish is with us. And Katrina, I think we have reaction from President Biden.
We do have a statement. Also, I do want to update that we are hearing that the former president was hit by shrapnel again that was flying from wherever the shooter was. And of course, the bullets did unfortunately hit someone behind former President Trump. And also, I know there's someone else seriously injured. Okay, we do have a witness who saw the shooter, I believe, if I'm hearing correctly. All right, what I'm going to do.
The event, but you were just outside. Tell us what you saw and what. So we had a party here all day. You can see behind us at the Brinkles Farming Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees up there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up. And probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof. And he had a gun, right? He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2 or 3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots rang out. So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof? 100%. 100%. And he was up there for a couple of minutes. He was up there. You were not there for a couple of minutes. Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes. And you were telling the police and the Secret Service? We were telling the police. We were pointing at them for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree. Could they see binoculars? Could they see him? Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? This is not a big place. Did you see, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all? Oh, yeah, they blew his head off. Okay, sorry. Secret Service blew his head off. Okay, just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy? Absolutely, 100%. Okay. Yep. You saw that happen? Yep. Okay. Yep. And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or? They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over. That's incredibly shocking. The guy was on the roof right there. You can see the white roof right there. Did you get a look at him? Could you? No, other than he was in muted colors, tan type clothing. We saw the rifle flinging around as he was trying to crawl. I mean, we saw the rifle, 100%. Do you know about guns? Do you know what kind of weapon it was? Oh, absolutely know about guns, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it was a rifle of some sort. I wouldn't know, I wasn't close enough to read the label on it. But sure. But it was a rifle of some sort. Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you process what you've just seen? I don't know what to say, man. I'll tell you is, if I walked up close to there with anything that Secret Service considered a problem, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. But I don't know why a guy who we're standing there pointing out to police and Secret Service is crawling up the roof.
All right, some serious questions being raised by that man about security and whether it was adequate, whether when and how sniper was spotted. Hey, we should point out that President Biden has issued a statement we mentioned a moment ago. Katrina,
Yes.
what does he have to say?
He said, I've been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he is safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who are at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety. There is no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it. Greg, very powerful words.
Yes, and now actually, if I want to see this again, we're going to go to the moment where the shots started to ring out and President Trump was hit. He's mid-speech and then something happens.
That's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Moving there. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Move. Go. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stand. Get ready. Get ready. We ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear. We're clear. Let's move. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold on in your head, buddy. So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes. Okay. What's up? Wait.
Because, of course, I heard somebody say, hold him. And then from President Trump, I heard, let me get my shoes. And then wait, because he didn't want to be taken, I think, so he could have an opportunity to reassure the crowd that he was okay. But Katrina, they were taking him out. It seemed like he was wounded, perhaps his legs or something like that he had difficulty walking.
I wouldn't be surprised, Greg, if he was also in complete shock. Just in that moment, the amount of adrenaline that I can only imagine would be going through when you do realize whether or not he saw blood on his hand, because we did see the blood coming from his ear where he was apparently grazed. And we're learning right now that the shooting at his rally is being investigated as a possible assassination attempt, according to law enforcement officials. Now, it certainly seems that that is what it is, again, but we just want to go with exactly what is being reported at the moment. But an absolutely terrifying moment. In that moment of fear, Greg, when the entire crowd started chanting USA, I still have goosebumps from that moment.
The attempted assassin reportedly is dead. We also heard from an eyewitness that they were trying to call attention to this person on a roof for some period of time before the shots started to ring out. There's also a report that another person, a rally attendee, just a regular person there, may have been seriously wounded. Yes. We saw CPR being performed on an individual, and a lot of folks trying to help him. And we don't have an identity. We don't have much of anything at this point. There are some conflicting reports. I'm actually going to go with the New York Post. The shooter, identified as a Chinese national, was in a sniper position located hundreds of yards away from Trump's podium in Butler, Pennsylvania, as he spoke to a campaign crowd. This is, again, a report in the New York Post. John Huddy is in Milwaukee. Is that correct, John?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
John, you're talking to the campaign people. What do you have for us?
Well, I'm outside the Pfizer Center, and this is where the Republican National Convention is going to be. Obviously, it kicks off on Monday, and security is, look, these event security is already high. I was at the Trump rally at the Trump National in Doral, as you may recall, on Tuesday. And typically what happens is there's a media preset well in advance of the rally, even the beginning of the rally, or when Trump is supposed to speak. And what happens is you go in there, the media sets up the camera gear, you set up the equipment, you bring in your bags, anything that you're going to be bringing in. And that could be anywhere from 7 to 8 hours prior to the rally. And then people obviously start showing up hours in advance, 5, 6 hours, but they have to wait to go through while the Secret Service does a sweep of the venue. If it's at a venue or if it's at the Trump National at the golf course, they go through the golf course, they check all the area, and you have not only the Secret Service, you have law enforcement, you have state police, you have local police, you have SWAT tactical teams, all basically on hand providing security. So today was much the same as well. Before this incident happened. That's what the Secret Service is calling it. What we're hearing, according to Pennsylvania State Police sources, is that the alleged shooter opened fire, possibly glass fragments from the teleprompter, may have hit apparently, according to our sources, hit former President Trump. But as we know, the shooter, according to authorities, was killed along with one of the people, somebody at the rally as well. But I've been to many of these rallies, Greg. And this, Secret Service, the security is always very, very tight. So that is going to be the case here. In fact, there's a preset going on right now inside the forum behind me in the venue. Basically, all the gear is locked down. So how this affects the event tomorrow and going forward when it kicks off on Monday as well, you better believe that security is going to be even at a much heightened and greater level as well. But a lot of bipartisan reaction is pouring in at this point, from both Democrats, Republicans as well. The governor of Pennsylvania said that violence has no place in our society. And we're hearing that also from other Democratic officials, both local and federal officials as well. The campaign, meantime, Stephen Chung with the Trump campaign says the former president is okay. He was treated at a local hospital, and you saw, of course, the video of him going down when the shots were fired, doing the right thing at the podium, going down, and then the Secret Service amassing, getting on top of him, getting him out of there, and then him getting up and waving his fist, saying what appeared to be fight. Don't know that for sure, but again, I can tell you, not to repeat myself too much here, but security at these events is always very, very high. But that said, this is still being investigated. We don't want to jump to conclusions. We don't want to speculate too much about the circumstances leading up to this. But obviously, this is a very serious situation.
Well, some circumstances we don't have to speculate about. We know the rhetoric has been incredibly intense, and a lot of high-level Democrats and even some Republicans using phrases like a clear and present danger, which actually connotes that you can break the law to stop the whatever is the clear and present danger, and they have characterized President Trump as that. And for many of us, the rhetoric has gone way overboard, and we were worried about this eventuality. However, we don't know everything. We don't know the motives. We don't know the identity of the shooter or shooters. This is all still very, very new, brand new. An investigation obviously is underway, and the information will be made available, we hope, very, very soon.
Yeah, we sure do. Also, a few incoming news moments here to share with you. First of all, we do know John Huddy mentioned potential security, what's going to happen at the RNC on Monday. We also do know that security is being increased around all of former President Trump's properties. Also, it is being upped for all of his family members as this investigation continues. And we are just learning this in from the Biden campaign. The Biden campaign is going to pause all outbound communications and is working to pull down TV ads as quickly as possible. And that is according from a Biden campaign official to the New York Times. John, are you hearing anything else where you are?
I heard he just said something about losing it, but okay, we're actually going to go to Maryland right now. James Rosen is standing by, and I'm just going to reiterate that we have it on good authority that President Trump is in good spirits, that he is safe, and that he is, quote unquote, fine. His condition is he will be out on this. He was not seriously injured, it would seem, and we are very, very grateful and relieved. However, we still don't have all the facts. James Rosen, thanks so much for being with us. What are you hearing, sir?
Greg and Katrina, good afternoon. We have heard through the White House press pool that President Biden is going to be making remarks any minute now. We received a 2-minute warning a little over 2 minutes ago. The president is going to be speaking at the police department in Rehoboth, Delaware. He has been briefed, Mr. Biden, on this incident, both by the director of the Secret Service, as well as Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and Liz Sherwood Randall, who is the president's Homeland Security advisor. And also taking part in those briefings included Jeff Zients, the White House Chief of Staff. But we may need to break away from me any moment, because we are given to understanding that President Biden is going to be speaking imminently. This, of course, aside from the human dimension of this and the prayers for former President Trump's speedy recovery, this is many things at once here. As you note, an unfolding story, a mystery of sorts still. Even the assertion that former President Trump is fine will await further medical disclosure. As to the identity and motives, of course, of the shooter or shooters, that too remains unknown. Here is former President Biden. It appears we may have just missed his statement there. But we do know from President Biden's Twitter account that he said shortly before 8 p.m. Eastern time, quote, "I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who are at the rally as we await further information." Concluding, President Biden's tweet said, "Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it," unquote. Of course, there are political ramifications to this incident, aside from the other effects we just mentioned. Here we have former President Trump appearing to survive an assassination attempt in which it appears he was shot in the right ear, and then rising to communicate with the audience with a fist bump, at the same time that we are largely as a nation worrying whether President Biden can get through a single news conference. This is bound to have some political effect. As we just mentioned, the Biden-Harris campaign has announced that it is suspending its outward communications. So once again, what was already a volatile time and an unprecedented election cycle is made more so by these frightening events. We should pause to note, as John Huddy was, that it appears that the suspect in this case has been shot and killed. I have one piece of hearsay reporting clearly labeled as such here to pass along, which is that of a former military service member friend of mine said to me, someone I trust implicitly, that he had spoken with a former military colleague of his who was seated in the second row at this Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and that this individual told him that former President Trump was shot in the right ear from his left side. And I asked if this service member from the Afghanistan conflict who was situated in the second row, purportedly, would be willing to speak with me. That request was rejected. I was told on the grounds that the purported individual in the second row is still suffering trauma from having witnessed this event. So there is so much still more to be learned. We have heard from President Biden, both in word and on camera, and we have to simply await further detail on a whole range of issues associated with this extraordinary, frightening, and disconcerting event. Greg, Katrina.
Are you ready? Yeah. All right.
Thank you, James. I do want to go through what the president just said. We're re-racking the tape. He said that President Trump is with his doctors. He hopes to speak with him shortly. President Biden, reports that he believes he is doing well. President Trump is doing well. The idea of this kind of political violence, he says it's unheard of and not appropriate. He was asked if it was an assassination attempt, and he said, well, I have an opinion, but I don't have enough facts. He says, again, President Trump's doing well. He also says he hopes to talk to him shortly on the phone. Called him Donald a couple of times, hopes to talk to Donald on the phone shortly, and said he would be perhaps updating or providing more information later on.
That's right. Okay, we are now going to bring in Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Muser. Dan, just want to get your reaction to what happened. Where were you when you heard the news, or were you there on site?
Yeah, hi, good evening. Yes, I was there. I was sitting in the front row just to the right of President Trump. My colleague, member, Representative Mike Kelly, as well as Senate candidate Dave McCormick, we were sitting together. 6-7 minutes into President Trump's speech, we heard the gunfire, and it came out pretty fast, 5 or 6 shots at least, and then followed by 3 or 4 more. The president, after about 2 shots, grabbed his ear and hit the deck as he knew he was under fire. That's about when those in the stands and around me realized what was happening, and of course, there was some panic. The gunfire sounded so close. Frankly, I just had a real feeling of anger and wanting to do something. It's sort of a helpless feeling. But very sadly, a couple of civilians were hit. One not too far from me, behind me, and my understanding is they died. They were killed. So it's a really, really serious tragedy, outrageous. And, boy, oh boy, we need to do better in our society than this, that's for sure.
Congressman, have you heard anything about President Trump, his injuries or anything like that? You gave us an excellent eyewitness report. All we are hearing is we saw that he seemed to be wounded in the face. We hear that he's fine. President Biden said he's with his doctors. He's doing well. We did see that he left the stage with some difficulty, whether he was limping. He really was kind of leaning on the Secret Service, at the same time giving America a great deal of encouragement and reassurance with that fist bump. Have you heard anything along those lines?
No, but the president did. He assured, he cleared the Secret Service for a moment just to give a thumbs up to everyone that he was okay. Like I said, the Secret Service did their job. They were on the scene real fast, protecting him. And as well, I gotta give a salute to our Pennsylvania state troopers. Many were there, of course, and they responded fast. Just a great officers. So, and yes, the president was nearly assassinated. Let's face it, he got hit in the ear by rifle fire. So, or I'm not positive it was rifle, but from that distance, it must have been. And another quarter of an inch, he would have been he would have been hit severely. So we're very, very lucky. We're fortunate, and we've got to this level of lack of civility is hostility needs to be cooled down. Maybe this is an opportunity for that to happen.
Congressman Dan Muser, very well said. I think the negative and nasty and truly evil rhetoric simply needs to stop. And again, we know that President Biden is pausing all of his outgoing campaign messaging as we speak. And speaking of that, we appreciate your joining us. Glad that you are safe. And we're going to go back and listen to what President Biden said just moments ago in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
Well, folks, I've been thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged in making sure that the people and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that they're thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do, okay?
Mr. President, do you think there was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried about President? Was the security failing, Mr. President?
So President Biden saying that the country has to be unified and talking about the rhetoric, the intensity of it all. We will direct him to his own role in setting the tone in this country. On July 8th, Katrina, he's quoted as saying, I have one job, and that's to defeat Donald Trump. I'm absolutely certain I'm the best person to be able to do that. So we're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye. That's not exactly appropriate. That's potentially even illegal to talk that way about a president.
Yeah, there's nothing about unifying there at all. It is quite the opposite. And even when we listen to people describe former President Trump as Hitler, saying he's going to ruin democracy, saying if he gets reelected, he's going to be a dictator, he's going to get rid of the Constitution. That is the kind of rhetoric that is fear-mongering, that is vicious, and that can drive people to do crazy, horrible, horrific acts like exactly what we observed today. But I do want to point out, because again, there are lots of reports going around, I want to tell you what we know for sure. We do know that President Trump was not hit by a bullet. The report that we have here from our newsroom at Newsmax, he was hit by glass fragments that had hit a teleprompter. We also do know, however, that the shooter is dead, and also one of the rally goers is dead. And again, that's what we know. And President Biden there, Greg, said that he was not sure if it was an assassination attempt, but we do know that it is being investigated as a potential one.
All right. It's 2 hours and roughly 15 minutes ago that this happened. And we don't have all facts yet. I hate to minimize it, and we don't want to sound like we are. Glass from a teleprompter, a bullet, we believe, hit the glass. Those bullets were certainly real. Sebastian Gorka is standing by, and by the way, you know, this looks like any old rally in a way. You know, we know him, we love him. This one is Butler, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour north of Pittsburgh, on a Saturday evening. President Trump out where he loves to be with the people. Sebastian Gorka, you work for President Trump. You love President Trump. Tell us what you're feeling and anything you care to share.
Well, apologies for my attire. I'm actually on vacation in New Hampshire. But so what am I feeling? My radio producer, one of the most astute people in media, texted me within minutes of what we heard, and he said the word unbelievable. And I said to him, Jeff, not unbelievable, utterly and completely expected. For 8 years, the left, the mainstream legacy media, the Democrats have engendered hate and have normalized violence. They called my former boss a Nazi, a white supremacist, a fascist. And you can play the video, Greg, you can play the video right now of
Hey, Vinny, where'd you get that shirt?
Hey, Stickerbill, what do you think I got? The Trump cabinet in public, you surround them, you harass them. We
Fucking
have it on the
YouTube.
record, Kamala Harris raising funds for convicted BLM arsonists, raising funds for their bail. There is one political party in America that has normalized violence, whether it's Antifa, whether it's BLM, whether it's language from Democrats, such as the most senior senator in the upper house saying what on the steps of the Supreme Court? Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, you will reap the whirlwind. That is a threat to sitting associate justices. So pray for the person who was killed, the innocent bystander, pray for President Trump, and pray for this republic, because we are on the precipice after what we just witnessed.
I certainly hope that the country will take advantage of this moment and really think, especially the left. You are right. We have been unfairly accused, conservatives, of somehow that our rhetoric, but no, we know that they seem to be. Look, this was somewhat inevitable. I hate to say, but we're not. I'm surprised, but not shocked. Thank you very much, Sebastian, for being with us. The big headline after the event itself, though, is that President Trump is reported to be doing well, and that I've heard three versions. He's doing well. I've heard he's fine, and I have heard that he is safe. That's kind of vague, each one. You know, we saw an injury to his face, Katrina. What else? I saw him being kind of helped off that stage. What does that mean? You know,
Exactly.
At first they thought Ronald Reagan just was bumped by the Secret Service agent on the way into the car. They didn't realize that the bullet ricocheted and was lodged in his abdomen, and they didn't realize that until they got to the hospital. So this we don't know. We're, quite frankly, probably not out of the woods yet. We need more information.
I do want to share what Donald Trump Jr., of course, the former president's son, did say that he had spoken to his father, who does, as we know, remain in the hospital. He said that his father is, quote, in good spirits as he remains under observation, adding that his father is, quote, never gonna stop. And again, that's exactly what that bump that he gave multiple times represents. And knowing the former president and how strong he is and what a fighter he is, I can only imagine what he is prepared to do to fight to save this country.
If we have the moment again, I think it's time that we take a look at it. What happened? It was about 2 hours and 15 minutes ago. President Trump, I believe, was making a point about the economy. He had just been engaging directly with Senate candidate Dave McCormick and talking about economic data. And he turned his head, and well, you'll see the whole moment. I think we have it ready. And let's go ahead and play that, please.
That's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move his spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the spare. Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready. You ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's go. Let's move. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold that in your head, buddy. So we got to move to the class. Let me get my shoes. Okay. What's up? Wait.
Making sure the crowd knows that he is okay as they.
Okay, we're back here, and I understand that Chris Salcedo is standing by with some information and a few things he wants to say. Chris?
Guys, just a little bit of analysis. Been watching your fine coverage. I think it was said earlier in the broadcast, it's a different country we're living in now all of a sudden. And just listening to some of the information, I want to stress for the folks at home, these types of incidents, the information comes in and we try to vet it as much as we possibly can, but there's a lot of fog of war stuff going on here. So we go with the information we have at the time. I want to read something that has been put out by the Federalist. This is Sean Davis. He says, a source familiar with Trump's security detail tells the Federalist that the former and future president's detail has been asking for beefed up protection and resources for weeks, but has been rebuffed time and time again by Joe Biden's Department of Homeland Security. Now, some might dismiss this as a political attack in a very heated political season. However, there is precedent to point to as we look at RFK Jr., who is also a viable candidate for the presidency. He has been denied Secret Service protection, his family enduring 2 assassinations, and the Biden administration seeing fit not to give him Secret Service protection. So that report may have increasing importance over the next few days as we analyze what's happened here. Greg, you said something earlier from the New York Post and I'm going to read from the New York Post, the shooter identified as a Chinese man. Now, we don't exactly know what that means, whether it's somebody of Chinese descent or somebody who was a Chinese national. We don't know where their information is coming from. But it is also fair to point out that our borders have been wide open in this country to terrorists, to foreign nationals streaming into our country, and goodness knows who has gained access to our nation courtesy of policies from the current administration. So this is all part of the tapestry that is coming in as we get new information by the minute, as we just had this entire political campaign, guys, redefined in one incident in Pennsylvania, in Butler County, Pennsylvania. Greg, I know you had talked about the possibility, some reports coming in of possibly 2 shooters. It seems the bulk of the reporting now says that they've narrowed down to 1. We're also getting word that somebody has been shot and killed in the audience, somebody directly behind President Trump. I was reaching out to Sid Miller, the agricultural commissioner here in the state of Texas, who was on the ground. He was 3 rows behind that individual who allegedly lost his life. So we're trying to get some information from what the agriculture commissioner from Texas saw when he was there in Butler, Pennsylvania. Quite an extraordinary unfolding of events today, guys, and of course we'll be watching.
Totally, Chris. Thank you much. Katrina, we have a witness, basically a front row witness.
We sure do. Blake Marnell, I believe, is his name, who joins us now, who was there when everything happened. Blake, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Blake, tell us what you witnessed. What did you see? What did you hear?
Well, the president was going over a slide on the big display board, what we call the Jumbotron, about increased immigration. And I remember looking over at that. So I wasn't watching the president directly, Then I heard some noises, and the noises seemed to register. I registered as coming them from my left. So I'm dead center in the front row, looking at the president at the podium. The sounds came from my left, where I thought they were, and I thought, is this a joke? Is this a prank? And I turned to my left to see what I could see.
Blake, we're having a tough time hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay, so when I looked back at the president at the podium, his security detail was covering him actively. So at that point, the shooting.
Shucks, Blake, you're on a cell phone. If you maybe you can move 10 feet to the right or some direction where you're breaking up. We do want to hear. If you can hear me, just get over to a new position if you can and pick it up where you left off.
Yeah, I'm still at the venue, and I imagine this is probably part of the reason for the bad. Is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm standing out in the field.
You're going in and out, Blake, but again, if you can hear us, if you can tell us exactly what's happening right now at the venue.
At the venue, people are still leaving. It's just very difficult. The parking lot was completely full, and just now beginning to empty the point where people can get out of here. A lot of disbelief here earlier, but the news has spread that the president is okay, so people are taking a lot of solace in that.
And Bob, I'm sorry, Blake, how far were you when the shot started to ring out? Where did you say you were?
I was in the front row in the center. I was probably within 10 yards of him, or maybe just a little bit over that.
Wow.
So you were in front of him, looking at him, not in the group behind him.
Correct. I was in the front row center.
We're looking at, we believe this is a victim being carried away, and again, conflicting reports about his condition. Hey, Blake, we're going to try this again. You have been breaking up. We lost your story as the Secret Service kind of swarmed President Trump, and he was below the podium. We saw what happened next. They get up, but is there any other? What did you hear? What kind of things did you observe being close that we may have missed?
I was actually listening. I was actually listening, I could hear what the Secret Service was saying back there, and I could tell. I did not hear them call for any medical attention. I heard them instead coordinating like an attempt to move him, basically getting ready on a countdown to move him off the podium. I didn't know what condition he would be in at that point, and was obviously apprehensive. But when I saw him stand up, when I saw him shake his fist in defiance, I was very, very hopeful at that time that he was going to be okay.
That was an amazing moment, and your vantage point. Well, listen, Blake, we appreciate it very much. We may check back with you. Don't go far. I think we have Bob Brooks, who's still at the venue. He was an eyewitness as well.
Sure was. Bob, what's the latest?
Yeah, Katrina, Greg, State Police, Pennsylvania State Police helicopter just landed here at the grounds. What I want to focus on is we're hearing so many different conflicting reports right now of, were there multiple shooters? Were somebody on the roof? What he said is what it sounded like to me. So I was standing right in front of the president. I was on the press high risers. We were about 75 yards away from him. He starts to speak, as we all know, he's barely into the speech at all. He's really just getting warmed up. And I was sitting, we had a chair. We were out there all day. I was sitting watching, and you heard that first pop. And I'm hearing so many different reports of that it maybe hit his teleprompter glass and he was struck by shrapnel. There was some kind of burst or smoke. Maybe that was glass shattering. I don't know. And then you started hearing pop, 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 pop. I'm not a gun expert. It didn't sound like, and who knows? I mean, they're still investigating right now, but they were quick. They sounded kind of hollow, like not like a big kaboom or anything like that. And that's when we all got down and we ducked. I mean, I was underneath tripods, covering your head. I was looking behind me because I was at the back of the rafters, and there was a little production area behind where we were, and I looked down. And clearly we were under attack to some degree. There was an assassination attempt allegedly going on. And I saw two of the people who were back there. One was a woman. I don't know who the other one was. They were bawling. They were crying. Like it was terrifying. And people in the crowd are getting down. They're screaming. And when I first get up to the left, and again, I've been saying this all evening, say I'm Trump. There's grandstands behind him on the right-hand side of Trump. So if I'm looking to my left, state police, Secret Service agents, they are on top of somebody over there. And then the shooting stops. I look up to find Trump, and I don't see him. And I screamed to the rest of the members of the media. I'm like, where is he? Well, where is he? And they're like, he's down. He's down below the podium. And I'm thinking, oh, my God. They killed him. Like they got him. Now we know that hasn't happened, but that was the initial thought. And and I'm saying, I'm asking, how is he? What's he doing? And that nobody knew. The Secret Service was on top of him. And then he stands up and he gives the crowd that fist pump, and I fist pumped him right back. I was screaming, yeah, USA! Like. It was crazy. It was a moment that'll live on in history. Those images will live on in history books for the rest of our lives. It's part of our history now. An assassination attempt on President Trump. And then they whisked him away. I started getting texts from people. There was blood on his face. To everyone's point tonight, he kind of limped away. He was limping down. So I didn't know if he was hit somewhere on his body or whatnot. Your guess was as good as mine at that point. But then off to the right grandstand, they continued to be on top of somebody over there. And then immediately after, once it was, I guess the threat was neutralized, though nobody really knew at that point. They immediately came in with crime scene tape. They roped off that area. I have a picture of it on my phone. I can show us here once we get a better signal. I can send it out. And then the Secret Service came in and they said, y'all got to go. Y'all got to go. But it was so crazy, guys. It happened so quick. And I don't know if this is part of the tactics, if there is a shooting at a rally. Like I said, one of the monitors, there's two big ones on each side, so you can see them. The crowd was huge. I don't know if a bullet hit piping or something on the right-hand side, because water started squirting out. Like it was like a high, just pumping out. I don't know if that's to neutralize the threat, to confuse people. I don't know, but that's what was going on. And then finally he went out, and then, luckily pandemonium didn't ensue. There was a lot of police, a lot of Secret Service. Obviously, people were devastated. People were crying. There was people crying, being consoled. It was, I'm like, you're like in a daze. What just happened? We were trying to get live on TV as quick as possible, and we did eventually. But that's kind of how it went down. So, who knows? The investigation will show in time. But the right-hand side, to his point that we had, that's to me where it sounded like it came from. And that's exactly where police and Secret Service agents tackled somebody and immediately roped off with crime scene tape.
Thank you, Bob. We're looking in the upper left corner there. If we maybe take those pictures full or fuller, some of them are extraordinary. There was a close-up of Donald Trump on the ground, kind of surrounded. Yeah. It seems to be taken from the ground. You can see, gosh, his wounded ear. The ear there. This is the picture.
I believe that's from the AP.
This is, in the line of fire, under fire, in the heat of combat, in a way. I am so impressed by the Secret Service and, of course, by President Trump. The sign of victory and defiance, and the crowd, the attendees. There wasn't mass panic. There wasn't pandemonium. And there were some heroes in the mix. A physician who was providing CPR to an individual who was shot. There was somebody else there. We don't know anything about him. And I think we might have this doctor speaking. We do. If you don't mind, let's go ahead and roll that tape.
That's exactly where I heard him come from.
What did you see, sir?
I heard the shots. I thought it was firecrackers to begin with. Somebody over there was screaming, he's been shot, he's been shot. So I made my way over. I said, I'm an emergency department physician. Let me help you. The guy had spun around, was jammed between the benches. He had a headshot here. There was lots of blood, and he had brain matter there. And so I got him. There's a helicopter coming in to get him. I got people there really helpful. I got
Was
them
there only
up
one
on the
person
bench.
shot that you saw?
Then I did CPR, did chest compressions as well as I breathed for them.
One person.
I was the only one
You
to do
guys,
that.
we need to evacuate everybody.
We have a Truth Social from that. He was terrific what he did. We saw him in action. This is from President Trump on Truth Social, Katrina. I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America. Wow, from President Trump just about 3 minutes ago on Truth Social. So I get this is really the first confirmation I have. I know the doctor that another individual was killed,
yes,
and somebody else seriously wounded, and we do know that the attempted assassin is dead.
Yes, exactly. And I want to give a little bit more on the latest. Again, we heard Bob Brooks there saying where he saw law enforcement tackle potentially who would have been the shooter. Heard from a witness earlier who saw someone with a rifle on top of a building. Now, again, this is all unconfirmed, but here's what we're hearing at this time. There are two reports saying that the shooter was outside the perimeter, and multiple reports are that a counter sniper is who hit the gunman. Potentially that could have been who was on the roof. Again, there's video and witness clips, and again, officials now saying that the shooter was far away and on a rooftop. So still conflicting reports. And again, that's how it goes in a breaking news situation, but we will keep you posted on everything that we're learning. Again, it is unconfirmed, but it is confirmed based on what Greg just shared from the former president himself, that Donald Trump is okay, and it was his ear that was hit.
It's so interesting that we have this information from the victim, from the victim himself,
yes,
putting out more information, quite frankly, than we have from Service, from the state police, or just about anybody. We're very appreciative for that, because there are a lot of things. And I think what he said, it's important to remember, and this is from the president himself, nothing is known at this time about the shooter. Somebody mentioned the possible national origin of the shooter. That is a report. We really don't have anything else. If President Trump doesn't know, I don't think we're going to know for a little while.
And I think what's very interesting also to note in that Truth Social post, President Trump says that he was hit by the bullet. Now, again, there were other reports saying he was hit by some broken glass. So once again, all unconfirmed, but the president himself saying that he was actually hit by the bullet. And Greg, as Congressman Muser mentioned earlier, if that is the case and it had been any closer or gone in a different direction, we could be having a very different conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't hear any glass shatter or anything like that. I was a little bit skeptical. Almost the report of the teleprompter, it was an attempt to somehow minimize.
I think so too.
Which
that's a very good point.
But at the same time, if it did happen, look, they're going to go through this hopefully meticulously. And what will we do going forward? Because the rhetoric is to a point from the left that Donald Trump poses this threat to democracy.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are individuals, I guess J.D. Vance.
That's exactly where I was going.
He spoke about this on Twitter just a few seconds ago.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to find it. But he once again said that this is a lot of this rhetoric. Today, he said today is not just some isolated incident. Again, this is J.D. Vance, potential running mate for the former president. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. You've all heard the rhetoric. He says the rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination. And again, that hateful speech that we have been hearing. You read that July 8th comment from President Biden, who literally said it's time to put a bullseye on Trump.
I think there's, quite frankly, if you want to know more about the difference, because they accuse the right of having pretty intense rhetoric. Donald Trump is furious about the policies of the left, whereas the left, they seem to be infuriated by Donald Trump.
Good point.
His being is a threat somehow in their estimation to our country, which is obviously crazy and overblown and dangerous, and potentially had an impact, a major factor in what happened today.
Yeah, absolutely true. And it's interesting, again, because the RNC, of course, scheduled to start on Monday. We spoke to John Huddy, who gave reports that there's a lot of question marks now just with the importance of needing to add security and whether or not or when that will continue. So, again, a lot of answered questions at this point, but we do know that the Biden campaign said they are pausing outgoing campaign messaging at that point. It seems like the right decision, Greg.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, absolutely. And at this point, you know what? I think it's time to look at it again. Every time we watch it, we kind of see something new. So President Trump was mid-speech. This happened at about 6:14 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And you hear the... Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Take a look at what happened.
Stand by for a second. All right, well, that was just terrible. We're joined in watching this, I believe, by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., presidential candidate. My goodness, a privilege to talk to you, of all people, on a day like today, a presidential candidate, and of course, what your family has endured. Sir, welcome. Your thoughts, please.
Well, my thoughts are that it's time for us all every American, to take a step back, to take a breath, to understand that this moment that we're all complicit in it, that all of us who fed into the vitriol, the hatred, the anger, that this is the ultimate culmination of that, and we need to all step back and start seeing each other once again as Americans, as part of a community, understand that America is better than this, and we now have to be the exemplary nation again, and that we need to come together in a spirit of love, of forgiveness, of reconciliation. And let's start healing our country again and use this terrible, terrible event to start unifying again. And of course, to pray at this moment for President Trump and for his family, who are all going through an ordeal with which I'm very familiar.
Mr. Kennedy, when you witnessed that moment, I can only imagine what you felt personally, again, as Greg referenced, based on the history with your family. Also, you have been asking for your own Secret Service protection, which you have been denied. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this moment about me, but I was with my dad when he died. Of course, I was very, very, I lived through my uncle's assassination in 1963 when I was 10 years old, and then I was 14 when my dad was killed. And I was with him in Los Angeles, and so I understand what the family is going through. I also understand the greater trauma to our country, that this affects everybody in our country. And we have to understand, again, that it's linked in one way or another to the vitriol, to the anger, to the disunity that many of us have contributed to. And, when my uncle died, it was at a time of great division as well. When my uncle landed in Dallas, in November 22nd, 1963, there were posters all around Dallas that said "wanted dead or alive," and the Dallas newspapers were printing very, very poisonous articles about him, and his death in some ways was linked to that wave of hatred. And the same was true with my dad. My dad was running in 1968, which was the most polarized, divisive time in American history since the American Civil War. There was terrible anger on both sides. on all sides. And part of the eruption of that anger was not only the riots we were seeing in the cities that year, but we also saw Martin Luther King's assassination that year. And then 2 months later, my father's assassination. And all of it is connected. And it's connected to each of us. And each of us needs to take responsibility for our own behavior. And, hopefully we can make something good of this. We can take that moment between our impulse and our action to, when we're angry at somebody, when we want to amplify a post of clever piece of hatred, that we just say, we're not going to do that right now. We're going to try to nurture love. We're going to try to nurture forgiveness. We're going to try to nurture a sense of community and a sense of harmony among Americans. We can have a debate, just like you have a debate among our family members without hating them. We need to stop saying that the other guy is going to be the Republic. Because, there are a lot of crazy people in this country. And when you do that, when you use that extreme kind of language, you're giving permission to those kind of people to engage in this kind of action. So, that would be my message to people.
Sure. Mr. Kennedy, here's an idea at the appropriate time, a joint appearance where they're not debating, perhaps President Biden, President Trump, and maybe yourself, a joint appearance where, you air your differences, but just maybe all three of you call for what you just summarized. That might go a long way. I have a question for you, though. You were looking for Secret Service protection a few months ago. I believe the Biden administration would not grant you Secret Service protection. Has there been a change in? And given the events of today, sir, your situation is an urgent one.
Again, I don't want to make this about me. I think we need to focus on larger issues. There's a lot more important issues than that debate within the administration. I think we should all take an example of how the Secret Service behaved here. We all saw them, the men and women who ran toward the bullet fire, who circled the president, who put their own lives at risk, who were willing to take a bullet, not just for the president of the United States, the former president, but also for our constitutional system of government, for our Constitution, and for our country. And I think all.
Okay, guys. We did about 2.5 hours of this. We know Trump's okay. We're going to get stories, we will, constantly over the next week or two. But like I was typing in chat, I will get some videos. I will have all the stuff. I've already got 4 or 5 different emails about this. And if you guys get anything, save them. And if you join me on Monday, let's go over them. We're going to see a lot of stuff. We're going to hear a lot of stories. And we're just going to have to wait to see what's going on. I'm hoping that we'll hear from Trump sometime. I don't know if it'll happen tonight, but we're going to have to see what's happening. And everybody, we all are speculating what's going on. I did download the video while we were watching this. I do have it on there. So that's something that we can take a look at. And if you guys are working or whatever. But I don't think we're going to get any news stories right now or new information about anything. So let's hope and wait till Monday. If you guys get anything, where's it at? Down here again. You guys can email me at theconservativeviewpoint@yahoo.com. The name of the show and yahoo.com. It's easy to remember. So hopefully we'll Trump will be okay. He'll get back to him same pissed off self now, because if I was him, I would be angry as hell. And Kennedy should be too, because they refused him Secret Service, which is illegal. So, but I'm not too worried about him right now. I'm worried about Trump and him getting back on his feet from this. And I'm tired of already the stories and from these liberal freaking idiots on ABC News I was watching as we were doing that, because I had all 4 screens going at once trying to watch stuff. So it's about 9 o'clock now, 2 hours, 36 minutes, my time anyways. So if you guys hear anything, you can shoot them over to me in the email right there. And I can use them and on Monday's show, so I can get a different opinion from everybody in different states too, because you know your stories, your news people will say different stuff compared to mine. So just get them right over to me. I want to thank you guys for tuning in for this horrible day, and I'll be watching for everything tomorrow while I'm setting up the show, and I'll probably just go over everything that we're watching tonight. So I hope to see you guys on Monday night, and we'll see what's going on. So until then, guys, have the rest of a good weekend, and I'll see you Monday. Night, everyone.